This is especially for our reporter this morning. Let's cross live now to Great Harwood, where the bus is currently, and say good morning to our reporter, Brett Davison. Brett, how are you doing?
I'm really good, Olive. I mean, Sharon, I'm really...
Hey, listen, it's not the first time it's been said. Too often,
really?
Brett. Honestly,
No.
with the glasses and the hair tied back, the amount of people that say that, yes. So thank you.
She is an arresting-looking woman and a fine
You
actress.
keep going. Keep digging, Brett.
Keep digging. Okay, I'll give you something back. It's confession time, all right? Two things. First of all, I've joined a group on a Facebook group recently.
Right.
I'm whispering this, and this is going to cast me aside from popular and pleasant society. It's called British Road Scenes, 1950 to 1980. And all it is, people upload photographs of car parks, of town centres, and you look at the old cars that maybe you grew up with, or your family did, or your great uncle drove, and it's just wallowing in that nostalgia. And I'm smitten with things like that. People I know like Formula One and like the supercars. No, not at all. If there's a Hillman Avenger in a photograph, it just takes me back to that time and place. And so, because of that, I am in heaven. Absolute heaven today here in Great Harwood. And here's another confession. When I was about 10 years old, I had a dream. It's quite a speech, isn't it? And that dream was I wanted to become a coach driver. And again, I'm in a place where I'm having to pinch myself. I am in this vast aircraft hangar of a building surrounded by dozens and dozens of buses and cars, some very old, some stretching back just to the 80s, which was, a fortnight ago. And it is all about celebrating the past. And the people who celebrate that are Cath Holmes, and Murray Dawson, and Ian Aminari. Good morning. Good morning, all. Thank you. We'll talk about this place in a moment. First, though, Murray, we must talk of a very special bus, and it is here. It is beside you. It says the number 16 Accrington. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, the great news is that some time ago I was in a field in Nusden with Darwin Heritage Museum Trust, and they're into buses as well, and I spotted the bus there. And I asked him what he was doing with it, and he said, well, that's number 10, and we're going to do these up before then. And I said to him, all due respect, I don't think you're going to live that long to do all these buses up, because they take years and years. I said, we need to have this bus in Accrington because it's part of Accrington's heritage. And they were kind people, they agreed, so we parted with some money and it came across.
Can I just describe what it looked to I'm not a mechanic, far from it, but even I would be sucking through my teeth because it's, what's the polite way of saying it? It's a project, isn't it? There's a lot of work needed. There's
a lot of patina and a lot of polishing that we need to do, we admit that. So we're at the ground level and we're starting from there, but we've spent 7 years now hunting around for a Heritage Fund bid, and we've been successful for the tune of £94,000.
Wow, Cath, here we are beside the massive cheque. It reminds me of Children in Need Night, and here it is, 94 grand. Wow. Lottery Heritage funding. What does 94 grand buy you then? What's that going to be spent on?
It's going to be spent on renovating the bus, but also upgrading it to more modern standards, seatbelts and things like that. And then we're going to be having digital appliances.
There's going to be touch screens on there for kids, young and old.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that balance, isn't it? It's about preserving the past, but also making it relevant, making it a fun place, because rest assured, you want this in the fullness of time, out day in, day out. You want it in constant use.
Yeah, we do. We want it out in the community. It's going to be like a mobile history bus, really. We've got input from other people. There's still other people to maybe record and do their remembrance of Accrington and the district area.
And that, Murray, you were saying, is going to be part of the key to this, because maybe we don't use buses as much as we did, and yet they were in the fabric of everyday life. We've just heard the On the Buses theme. Attracted millions on ITV in the early 1970s. People would have a morning chat waiting for the bus, and once this is fully restored and up and running, it's just going to nudge that memory muscle, isn't it?
It is, and we're also going to take it out for memory days to people such as Townfield Care, to the nursing homes, just to reignite some of those memories for dementia patients. And then at the other extreme, we're going to be picking up school children, putting them on the bus and taking them to places such as Haworth Art Gallery and all the other historic buildings within the town. But we know that the children aren't really into black and white photographs. That's why it's got to be videography, touchscreens and audio coming out through the bus.
Cath, I've got to ask, when you say that, I don't know if you're much of a mechanic, you're certainly more of a mechanic than I am. When you see this, what's 1975 end plate, it's a bus and it's in need of some TLC, does it set your heart racing?
It's a thing of beauty. It really is. You laugh.
Good on you.
It's a bit scabby and she's got a wonky eye, but...
Only a mother could love her, yeah?
Something like that. I just see beyond that. Yeah, I've restored vehicles in the past from welding and painting and everything, so I can see what,
You've got the vision. You've got the future there.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long are we talking, Murray, until she's out and about? What's the time frame for this?
Well, we're lucky that we've got friends at Town and District Transport Trust who are going to be helping us with this to pull it together. And Ian's promised me within 12 months it's going to be on the road again.
Well, get him to sign that contract. OK, we'll be back for that in 12 months' time. I'm going to have a chat with Ian in a moment. But just while we're talking about repair and maintenance, again, it's another string to the bow, isn't it? It's about getting local school leavers, young people involved, getting them to roll the sleeves up.
Totally. We've gone out to Accrington Rosendale College and North Lancs Training Group and asked them to join the board to help. And what we're looking for are their students. So whether it's in the mechanics department in terms of engineering work, or whether we're looking at the North Lancs Training Group joinery students, there's a lot of woodwork in this bus that needs sorting. So they've agreed to help us on this, which brings the next generation into looking at the historic buses.
Ian said a year. Is there an engine in it?
Just.
Does the engine go?
It does, actually. And Ian said to me...
6 months, then?
He said to me just yesterday it doesn't need much work on the engine, but some other bits do.
Ian, you've got to watch what you say. He takes you at your word.
I kind of gathered that now, yeah. Murray's just really put me on the spot, hasn't he? No, mechanically, engine-wise, I do feel that the engine's generally definitely serviceable. It's in reasonable condition. Obviously, it'll need service work and remedial work. Gearbox-wise, everything seems to perform okay from what we know. So really, a lot of it is the bodywork, as you can see.
What I love, though, is all three of you. You see this, and a lot of people might think, yeah, wonky eye listing, it's flaking, the paintwork, the livery, but you see the vision, don't you? You know what it can be. You know how you can restore this.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, it's to me. I've seen a lot worse, a heck of a lot worse, and it's a reasonably straightforward project. I think there is a lot of work to do, and as I say, Murray's getting North Lancs Training Group and Accrington College and things on board. We have our own team of volunteers here as well that are going to be involved, and we're quite looking forward to doing it because of. As well as we do our own buses, I think because of Murray's vision that he wants to do and bring it, preserving the past for future generations, shall we say, and that's one of our slogans that we used to use. I think, bringing it up to date with the touch screens and things like that is generally, I think it's a good vision, but I'd certainly think it's achievable.
I can see it's whet your appetite, this challenge, hasn't it? Listen, we've got to talk about this place. We will in a moment because it is immense here. We're going to talk more to Cath about civic pride, about banging the drum for this part of Lancashire and beyond, and also about your father, who really does a lot of research into local history. And, of course, we're going to hear more of this wider project. It's called Wheels and Water, and Murray's got the details on that. But just before we have a break for some music... £94,000, that cheque says. You'd have been better off buying a new bus, wouldn't you?
No, not at all. This bus has got links to Accrington. And even if we look at the bus originally, it was a coach, but it was made at Leyland. The coach windows used to fall out a lot, so they decided after a couple of years it wasn't working as a coach. So it went to East Lancashire Coach Builders in Blackburn to be rebodied, and this is the body that we see here. And then it's been working for Hyndburn and working for various other councils.
It's in the DNA. It's part of us.
It is, and it's important to bring it back. But equally, this had a different differential, and it would actually go at 70 miles an hour on the motorway. So this will keep up in modern traffic as well. So that's why we haven't gone for a 40s or a 50s bus. We've got a 1975 bus that's modern in terms of its speed.
Just got a final word with you, Cath, because you grimaced when I said buy a new bus.
No. No.
You've fallen in love with a wonky eye, haven't you?
Yeah, and the scabby paintwork.
Well, it takes all sorts, Cath. We'll be back more, exploring more about how this bus will be rejuvenated, restored, with a lot of craftsmanship and a lot of TLC. And also talking about the wider Wheels and Water project, Sharon. And again, banging the drum, shouting loudly about heritage and civic pride in this particular borough of Lancashire. Join us in a few minutes.
Brett, thank you so much. Our reporter, Brett Davison, live for us this morning. Tuning in on this Monday morning, 9 minutes to 12. My name's Sharon, with you through until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Let's hear more now from our reporter, Brett Davison, who is live for us in Great Harwood, having the time of his life by the sounds of it, surrounded by vintage buses.
Yeah, yes, you're right, though. You are right. Vintage buses and much else. I'm with Murray and Cath, but it's Ian I want to chat with now about this place, because blink and you'd miss it, and yet it is staggering, a treasure trove.
It is like a TARDIS. As you probably, when you pulled up outside, you probably didn't realise how many vehicles we have in here.
You opened the garage doors, and I thought there's probably going to be 2 or 3 buses in here. And how many you got?
Well, lost count. We had about 65. I think it's because we're that focused on just doing whatever we do. We've never actually done a full audit count. I think the guy who does all our banking and things like that does have a list of names and vehicle owners, and
you need an accountant to count the number of vehicles. That's and it's not just buses, is it? There's some cars. You love Saabs. There's a few of those. Again, projects just round the back. And the next project you've got, you like to set yourself tricky challenges, don't you?
Well, we've got vehicles here, buses wise, from 1935. The one here right in front of you is the oldest Blackburn bus left in existence. Wow. And further down the back is another bus is a new project that we want to carry on with. Probably not this year, probably be next year. That is a 1944. It's a wartime vehicle. It was Ribble, so it was local to the general area of Lancashire, and it ran around here and around this borough as well. So yeah, that's one, but it's certainly an ambitious project.
Said it's like a basket.
A basket case, a lot of people would say.
Like to say,
yeah. But it's there, it's got potential, and I do believe that's another thing. It's a very ambitious project, that one, certainly a lot more than what this one emerges.
I mean, all of your passion, but people might listen might think, why do it? When did you get bitten by the bug? When you were growing up, did you think, yeah, I'll have 65 buses?
Unfortunately, all my family have been involved with buses all their life, and my uncle, who's just retired from his 50th year now of buses and being a bus dealer. So,
it's there.
Yeah, it's there, and unfortunately I was born into it, and
you made the most of it.
My madness is, that's it. I don't think I'm going to change now. I think it's too late. So.
Let's talk a little more then about history and a sense of place in this borough. And we'll bring Cath Holmes back in here, because let's talk a little about your dad, because he is a well-known local historian.
Yes, he is, Walter. He worked for many years with Bill Turner, who wrote the books, the late dear Bill Turner. Dad did a lot of the research with him. He did all the computer work, because Bill wasn't into that at all. Bill did the books, as I say, and the lectures and things, and talking to people. And Dad's just continued, probably for the last 30 years, doing research, mainly into the PALs, but he also has a great local historical knowledge as well. It's
that reservoir, isn't it, of stories, of anecdotes, a sense of history, that timeline, it's all there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was a firefighter, so he knows the borough very well also, and probably lots of little snippets of things that other people didn't and don't know about.
It is staggering, because we're here today reporting on a bus, reporting on the £94,000 of the National Lottery Heritage Fund that you've got to make this dream come true. But this is just one aspect of it. I know that you've got your fingers in so many other pies. You talk about levelling up, you talk about the Northern Powerhouse.
Yeah, I mean, Accrington has got so much going for it. People constantly slag it off, but we are rich in history and heritage and arts and culture. And once you start looking into it, as I said earlier, when we were doing the benches in the town centre, we had to whittle it down as to, you know, who's famous from Accrington. I think we've got John Anderson on there, Jeanette Winterton. You know, there's so many musicians, actors, actresses, composers, writers. It just goes on.
You're saying it's a global brand.
It's the epicentre of the world, is Accrington.
There you go. There's the slogan right there. Let's talk then more about this bus, Murray, and we've got the stopwatch on Ian now. He said a year and until it's done, but it's only part of a wider project, isn't it? This Wheels and Water.
It is. We're looking to celebrate, and as you said earlier, Accrington was the original northern powerhouse. If we go back to Hargreaves, the invention of the spinning jenny, the Industrial Revolution, it started in Accrington, it started in Hyndburn, up at Stanhill, and we're really keen to celebrate that. And when we look at the canal, to my mind, that was the original M62, and our wares were exported throughout the world through the canal, and it's so important.
Would it be wrong to suggest that sometimes those who don't know the area sometimes overlook Accrington as a stepping stone between Blackburn and Burnley?
Totally, similar to the football teams, which is why it's great with Andy Holt that we're in League One and we're punching above our weight and, you know, pushing on and with the facilities, etc. But when we look at the project that we're doing here, we're linking through to other societies such as the Leeds Liverpool Canal Society with their Kennet project, so that this bus will be able to take people off the Kennet and take them around some of the heritage sites within the borough. But equally, linking through to school children in a digital age, we need to celebrate our history in a different way, and that's why it's so important to bring it to life.
And just on that, the livery, the colour of the bus, that is important, and that strikes a chord, doesn't it?
It does. That goes back to the Accrington Pals time when it was molten blue with a red pinstripe on the uniforms before they went off to war, and that's why the buses were painted in these colours. So as I grew up in the 60s and 70s, these were the buses that we saw every day. So it's the history of the heritage that we're celebrating and keeping it alive.
Well, thank you so much for letting me have a tour earlier, sharing the story of this project and the passion that has come across already from this project. The clock is ticking in. You've got a year, and we'll come back for that as well. And you can take us out on a tour in a year's time. Okay, so no pressure there. And thank you so much for this treasure trove of it began with On the Buses, the theme tune from On the Buses, and now we're looking to the future and touchscreens for the kids and the like. Murray, Cath, Ian, best of luck with it. I think you've got your work cut out, but what a thing to celebrate this borough, Sharon.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much. Brett Davison reporting there. You are listening to BBC Radio Lancashire.